For being here. We're ready to get started. Thanks for your patience for just a few minutes here. I think that some of you are, maybe because of the link we provided, you're showing up as me, as Emily. If you want to change your name on the account there, feel free. And as long as we're able to have our presentation and have the questions and answers, it'll all work out in the end. I'm Emily Chancellor. I'm with Austin Water, and I handle community outreach for our projects around the city. I really appreciate you being here with us tonight. I know for many of you, this is a long-awaited project, and you've attended several public meetings about the Highland Park Water and Wastewater Improvement Project. The project team is glad to be finally at the stage of bringing this project to construction and making these improvements in your neighborhood. I also just want to mention that Councilmember Alter's Chief of Staff, Kurt, is joining the meeting, and he's here and has been working with our office, and he'll be part of the discussions for the project tonight and ongoing. And I'll just get us started with our agenda. So I'll do some welcome, and we'll cover some logistics on how you can participate in this meeting. Our project team will do introductions, and you'll be able to see their faces and hear from them. And then our project manager will give an overview of the project, and that'll be 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that, we will have questions and answers. And, you know, we typically do these meetings in person. Over the past year, we've all had to adapt. And so we'll give you instructions on how you can submit questions. We are scheduled to meet until 7 p.m. The project team is prepared to stay a bit longer if we need to. And we'll also provide information on the project website if we don't have all the answers to questions that you send to us tonight. And then we'll conclude our meeting. And we're glad you're here tonight, but I just want to make sure you know this is not the only opportunity to engage with the project team on this project. We'll be sending regular updates, and we're always available by phone, by email. So we'll be in touch, and we'll always be available to answer your questions or address any concerns you have. So I'll just make a couple of opening comments. I mentioned that we've all been adapting over the last year. Most of our project team are working from home. So you'll see us coming in from our different locations. My experience is that the dog in the house is going to bark during this meeting, so there might be some interruptions. We've learned that's kind of just part of working from home life these days. But we all are working together to bring you this meeting and to bring you this project. And then a lot of our project team who are represented tonight are working in the field. We'll talk more about the COVID-19 precautions that are in place so that we can continue to maintain and improve our infrastructure during this time. All right, so I'm going to hand over to Lydia, who's helping us run the technology behind this meeting, and she's going to give you some information about how you can participate.
Thanks, Emily. So I'm probably the reason that y'all all were called Emily when you joined, so my apologies. If you would like to change your name, you can click on, well, you won't really know which attendee you are because you're all named attendee, but you could take a guess and click on the more button by the word attendee and then click rename and type in your name. But you're all here, and the main thing is that if you have questions, you will be able to ask them, and you can do that anytime throughout the presentation. There will be a chance for a Q&A, but if you just take your mouse and you scroll to the bottom black bar of this Zoom screen, you'll see some buttons come up. You'll see a Q&A and a chat button. That Q&A is where you can put specific questions of anything that comes up regarding the presentation. If you have technical issues, things like that, for me, you can type that in the chat box. And I don't know what your next slide is, but in case it doesn't mention, if some of you are calling in from a phone, which it doesn't look like we have any at this point, but if you do have a question and you're calling in from a phone, if you just click *9 on your phone, that will show me that you have a question, and then we'll let you know when it's time, and I'll unmute you and we'll let you know when you can speak.
Thanks, Lydia. We really appreciate your help making this run. I know I couldn't do it without you, and we really appreciate your support. All right, I'm going to get us to our next screen. And this is, we're going to have introductions with our project team. I'm going to ask our project manager to kick us off here.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Sho Angia, and I'm a project manager with Public Works. Austin Water is the sponsor on this project, and Public Works is providing project management services. I am the project manager from the city's end on this utility improvements project. I will turn this over to Alexa.
Hi guys, my name is Alexa Locklear. I am the engineering construction supervisor for Public Works. Nick Burnett will be the inspector that you will see out on site, and I will be working with him during construction, and you guys will interact with him quite a bit on site.
Hi, I'm Michael Snyder. I'm the project manager with Santa Clara.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Aaron Hanna with the City of Austin Public Works Department. I was the engineer of record on this project.
Thank you, everyone. And then I want to, our next slide, I want to show that we have additional project leadership available on the meeting who have been steering this project through design and will all continue to through construction. And as Sho mentioned, this is a partnership between Austin Water and the Public Works Department. And so I'm showing you here some of our additional project leadership, and you'll hear from them later during the Q&A session. I'm sure they'll help answer questions, and they're here to support the meeting. And now we get to our next slide is our project overview. So Sho, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Emily. Let's start with the project overview as to why we're doing this project and what benefits this will provide. The Highland Park Water and Wastewater Improvements Project will construct a second water line to feed into the area. Waterline breaks are well documented, and the existing 12-inch line is a dead end, and it's not looped in with any other water lines. So the new 16-inch water line will not only improve the water service, but also provide the improved fire protection. These improvements will reduce the water service disruptions in the future and provide a better service throughout the Highland Park neighborhood. So this project is being constructed in two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 runs from Far West Boulevard to Northland, with majority of the work along balconies. The construction began last year in April 2020, and it is planned to be completed by the end of this year. Phase 2 runs from Northland Drive to the intersection of Crestway and Mount Barker, and it is scheduled to begin construction this May 2021. We are looking at a construction duration of 2 years and 7 months. Of course, this meeting is to focus on phase 2 with construction starting in the next month and a half. I do want to note that the contractor for both phase 1 and phase 2 is Santa Clara Construction. The contractor is currently ahead of the schedule on phase 1, and we hope we can do the same thing on phase 2. Phase 2 will install the following: approximately 7,300 linear feet of new 16-inch water lines, 1,045 linear feet of water lines to be replaced, 4,735 linear feet of wastewater lines to be improved, and 855 linear feet of storm drain to be improved. So just like a little information on the project duration, as I mentioned, we're looking at 2 years and 7 months to substantially complete phase 2. So with construction starting this May 2021, we are looking at December of 2023 for the completion date. Construction includes 3 separate utilities: water, wastewater, and stormwater. Work will be performed in sections along the street right-of-way with appropriate traffic control set up to maintain access for all the customers and emergency vehicles. The construction duration and expected productivity rate depends on various factors such as the scope and complexity of the project, Traffic conditions, of course, we have busy streets that we're going to be working on, like balconies and crestway. Hard rocks encountered during excavation. So we have encountered hard rocks in balconies on phase 1. So we're likely to encounter hard rocks in phase 2 as well. Congested existing utilities and coordination with residences around the work area. So here is an aerial map that shows the extent of our utility improvements project. It runs from Northland to the intersection of Crestway and Mount Barker, with majority of the work along balconies and Crestway. This map shows where the water, wastewater, and stormwater will be installed. So the blue lines represent the water, the orange for the wastewater, and the pink is for the stormwater. These slides will also be available on our project update website, so customers can review what work is right in front of their house. So what to expect during construction? A little overview on construction. The contractor will use heavy equipment to dig trenches for the new water and wastewater lines. The roads will be patched after the line is installed, and all roads will be repaved at the end of the project. Construction phases, please expect the crews to be working in front of your property a number of times to complete each phase of the project, including excavation, pipe installation, temporary paving, testing, repairs if necessary, and final paving. And more on what to expect during construction. We will be closing lanes of traffic, but not entire streets. You will always have access to your home. Maybe for brief periods, driveway access may be limited. Water service, some customers may experience a temporary water outage when the new 16-inch water line is connected to the existing system. Affected customers will be notified prior to any planned water outages. Emergency outages could occur should an existing water line break during construction. And as far as the work hours go, we're generally looking at Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We may require some weekend and night work. Allowable working hours may change per the right-of-way management. So with us being in the pandemic situation, we are following all of the safety measures during construction. Austin Water construction projects support critical infrastructure for the health and safety of our community, and therefore construction activities are allowed to proceed under the current City of Austin restrictions. Safety requirements are in place, and that includes the following. Workers must wear face coverings and maintain a 6 feet social distance. Sites with more than 10 active workers must stagger shifts. All sites must begin each workday with safety briefings that include reminders of all COVID-19 safety requirements and a check of PPE. Hand washing is required, and hand washing stations and restroom facilities must be at least 6 feet apart. And work sites must provide single-use disposable paper towels and no-touch trash receptacles. So we always get a couple of questions, like frequently asked questions from our customers. So we did want to put this just so everyone is looped in with these questions. And the first one being, will access be blocked to homes and emergency vehicles? So with our work being performed in sections, the homeowners will always have access to their homes and driveways, except when the construction trench is right in front of their driveway. So this will only be temporary. It will be limited to just a few hours with proper coordination and notification to the homeowner of this impact. The traffic control plans include a requirement to maintain an emergency response route through all work zones. And the other frequently asked question has to do with the use of large metal plates to cover the trenches. So metal plates will be used only in the section where work is being performed. The plates will be secured properly with cold mix around it to reduce the noise. So we do provide constant updates on our newsletter. So feel free to sign up to receive these updates. You can sign up at austintexas.gov/Highland Park. Project notices. So if we are going to have a planned water shutoff, we'll provide at least 48 hours advance notice, and we'll leave this notice on your front door. All right, I think that's all that I had on my list. So I'm going to hand this back to Emily.
Thank you, Sho. Appreciate that overview. And we'll just review here. If you have joined by phone, you can press *9 to let us know that you'd like to ask a question. And if you've joined from your computer, then click on this Q&A button and submit your question, and we'll start working through those questions. And we have one question submitted already, so I'll read that. I'm just going to read out the questions, and then whoever on the project team has this information, they'll answer, and we'll just keep going through them. We'll give verbal answers because just the time to type in the answers would kind of drag out the meeting. So our first question is, what is the expected timing of a section? That is, how long is each section expected to take? So I wonder if Sho or Aaron, if you all have an estimate on that, or do you want Michael to chime in on this?
So Michael, could you chime in on this one?
I mean, there's several different phases that we have, so they're going to be different. It had to be a little bit more specific to give you a time.
Could you maybe talk about, is there a certain length that you typically work in for your trenches and for each section?
So on average, we'll get around 100 feet a day of pipe. So that's, depending on how hard the rock is, but more or less 100 feet a day.
Okay. So I know as the project starts, we'll be sending updates out. And so we can kind of let the neighbors know what area the crew is working in and where they're going, when they're going to move to a different block. I know on Balcones, it's maybe a little different than in another neighborhood, but we can kind of provide those updates throughout the project. And we have on other projects, I've had folks contact me or the project manager and just to see if we can give an estimate of when we'll be moving to a certain area. And I know if the information is available, we'll be glad to provide it, and we'll give our best estimates. Things can change, as Michael said, and it can depend on what work they're doing at the time. Okay. Another question. I know that the decommissioning of the facility on Ridge Oak was in the plans, but didn't see it today. Is it still in the plans? If so, when does that begin? And what is to become of that property? Will the community have a say in what happens to it? And then related question, where will water be served from when that station is gone? So I know we have a FAQ on the project website related to this, and I can start this off, and then probably Joe or Janet will want to add some information. So the building this project will allow that that pump station to be decommissioned, but decommissioning it will be a future project. And so we don't have a timeline on that at this point. Austin Water has committed to staying in touch with the community and seeking community input about the future use of that land. So we've committed that, and we have it on writing on the project page. We just don't have specifics at this time or the timeline. And I have discussed this with one of our assistant directors just this week. And so I want to assure everyone that we know this is important to the neighborhood, and those commitments that we've made and that answer on the webpage are from our management here at Austin Water. Joe or Janet, would you like to add any details to that?
Sure, I can respond to the last question. I'm Joe Hepkin with Austin Water Distribution System Engineering. So the last question is, where will water be served from when that station is gone? The 16-inch line that's being built will be providing that water, along with the 12-inch that currently exists. So those two lines will provide dual feeds into this part of the system. So the purpose, again, of this, one of the purposes of the 16-inch is to avoid a water outage when the 12-inch line breaks, as it did, I think, about 3 years ago or so. I think it's about 50 or 60 years old. It's cast iron main. So by having the 16-inch in place, then better redundancy, better fire flows. Although you won't, as residents, you won't really notice that because your domestic flow will always be turned on, so to speak. But really, the fire flows are going to be greatly improved. And then I see a question here. So will it get pumped uphill? No. So your water is being served from a ground storage tank. So basically just gravity flow.
So, I mean, would you like me to elaborate on that?
Go ahead, please, Janet.
So this area is in the Northwest A zone. And again, like Joe pointed out, that you will have dual feed. It'll be dual looped feed from the Northwest A, which is served from that Spicewood Springs pump station. And then the reservoirs are Martin Hill, Forest Ridge, and Jollyville. And so, that is actually where you're located in the city, Northwest A. Currently, what is happening is you are served by the 12-inch, and there's that small underground pump station that boosts the pressure as needed. It's not very reliable. This will be a much more reliable system that we can utilize to get you guys water and maintain your service.
We have another question. Where is that ground storage tank? I think you may have touched on that, Janet, but why don't you answer that specifically?
So there's actually 3 ground storage tanks. The largest one, and it used to be the largest one in the United States, which is Martin Hill, which is drive up Mopac and look to your left. It's what's the name of that street?
Shoreline Drive.
Near Shoreline Drive, and you look to your left, you often see it at night, and people have called in thinking it was a UFO. And then we also have Forest Ridge, and then we also have Jollyville, which is located off 183, and you can see that very clearly off 183 near McNeil. And then Forest Ridge is back in the BCCP area and not that obvious to customers.
Thanks, Janet. That's helpful. Our next question, I think, is related to the construction impacts. Take any block on Crestway. What will the usage of that block when it is being trenched look like regarding traffic flow and parking? And then a note, and thanks, you folks really instill a degree of confidence in your concerns for our needs and interests. All right, so Sho or someone on the project, do you want to talk about traffic control and how that will work during construction on Crestway?
So we always close just lanes of traffic. We don't close the entire street. So we have appropriate traffic control set up to allow for, customer vehicles and also for emergency vehicles. We're definitely going to be working in sections, and with the appropriate traffic control, there will be access. So, if we're working in a particular section, they could be, temporarily parking may be limited at that point, but, we are going to provide access to customers and the emergency vehicles. I don't know if someone else wants to add on to that.
Looks like most of our traffic control is flagger set up. So we'll have probably around 300 feet that's being flagged at a time, just as we move through.
Thanks, Michael. And all of those traffic control plans were part of the design of the project. And so they've been well thought out and have to be approved. And so that is a priority, one of the things that has to be worked out for the project to get to this phase. I don't have any questions in the queue right now. So one of the things, I'll just talk for a minute while we're waiting for maybe other questions to come in. Alexa introduced herself during the project team introductions, and Nick on her team will be the inspector. I wanted to make sure that you all know what the role of the inspector is. They're really a very key part of these projects. So Nick will be on site. He'll be working with the contractor. He makes sure that the project is being constructed according to the specifications and meeting our standards here at Austin Water and at the city. He also is kind of your frontline person for communication with the neighbors. So he and also the contractor superintendent will be contacting you if they're going to be working in front of your driveway. They'll knock on the door. You'll see them out there and you can always approach them. Nick's cell phone number is on our materials, and he is very responsive and responsible. And all the projects that I work on with him, neighbors send compliments, and they're really grateful for the work he does out there to try to ease the inconvenience for the residents. So I just want to make sure you understand his role. And if you send questions to me or to Show, we typically are looping Nick in, and he's helping us to answer them too.
I'd also like to add that Nick was on the first phase of this project, or is on the first phase of the project, so he's very well versed on the details.
Yeah, good point, Janet. He's been working with the neighbors there and a couple of others in that part of town. Yeah. So we don't have any additional questions at this time. I'm going to advance my slide here. So I guess I'd like to say if there's anyone who would like to just make some comments verbally, who's part of the meeting, I think that there's an icon to raise your hand, and we have some time here. So we'd be happy to hear from you if you have feedback, comments, or if you just prefer to ask a question verbally. So you can raise your hand, and Lydia, help me to look out for that, please, for the next few minutes. I do have a question that just came in about dust mitigation. So Michael, maybe can you talk about what dust mitigation measures you'll have out there?
Yeah, so we're going to have water on site that we can use for sweeping the streets, and that'll be done daily.
All right. I have a question here. Send us a screenshot of these contacts. I will figure out how to do that. And also I did put in the chat, hopefully you can see it, a link to our project website. And these contacts are on the project website, and that's austintexas.gov/Highland Park. So this information is available on the project website as well. Lydia, can you help me get that link posted? I have so many screens here, and I
Yes, I just posted it in the
thank
in
you.
the main chat.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Since I'm sharing the presentation, if I click too many things, then it'll all go down. Show, do you have any closing comments that you want to make while we're just waiting to see if there's any more questions that come in?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I mean, I know we're all working together, you know, to make this project beneficial to the neighborhood. So I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, making this effort and, you know, doing this project. So I thank everyone's effort on this project.
Okay, we do have another question. Typically on Crestway, we have twice yearly brush pickup and bulk pickup. Will you coordinate with the city to allow those pickups to happen? And the answer is definitely yes. And I don't know, Alexa or William, do one of y'all want to talk on that? Or
We always, when it comes time for that to happen, we work with the contractor and we make sure that that it happens. Michael has worked in the past with that on other projects, and we either move to another area and work so that it's available. So yes, that will still happen. We'll never take that opportunity away.
And in fact, Alexa, the team will be coordinating not just those twice a year services, but the weekly trash, recycling, compost pickup, and deliveries that come through. I know that your team and the contractor staff will be alert to those things, and they'll help make sure that, you know, your Amazon or any other delivery can get through mail and your weekly city services for pickup.
Yes, ma'am. Most definitely.
All right. So I am going to have the awkward pause here now because I never want to cut the meeting off right when someone's typing in a question. So I have a joke now. A couple of public meetings back, I said this, and I kind of commented that I should get some jokes for my 6-year-old to like fill the space during this awkward pause. And so one of the attendees sent a joke in the chat, and so it was, why did the chicken cross the playground? And it's to get to the other slide. So that's my joke to fill the space here. It seems like we're kind of wrapping up to get to the end. I don't have any more questions coming in. I appreciate everyone being here. Like I said, we're available, so don't feel like this is your last opportunity. If you have additional questions or if there are concerns during the project, please contact us. We're glad to be bringing this improvement to your neighborhood. And yeah, I don't see anything coming in, so I think we can call it a wrap. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you.